Welcome to The Chatter, your end of the week ear candy for what to eat, drink, see, and do in Richmond, Virginia, right damn now.
The Richmond Experience is independently owned and created by locals, us, for locals, you. From recent openings and the latest trends to time-tested traditions and hidden gems, we're here to help you experience the very best that RVA has to offer.
Hi, I'm Paige, RVAX owner and chief marketing officer. I'm the face you see in front of the scenes on Instagram and TikTok, taking you to all the latest and greatest hotspots around town.
And I'm Kelsey, RVAX owner and editor-in-chief, working behind the scenes on your Wednesday and Thursday newsletters, the Weekly Insider and the Weekender, and City Guides.
Hey, Kels, I'm excited.
I know, I am too. That's usually our cue to let our listeners know that we have another special guest with us today, Leah Contreras. I will give you all a little bit of an intro and then we'll get into speaking with her. Leah is a licensed clinical social worker with dual master's degrees in public health and social work from NYU. She's based in Richmond, working with individuals, couples, and groups, but she's also licensed to see clients in Florida, West Virginia, elsewhere in Virginia, South Carolina, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. Leah is passionate about helping people strengthen their relationships, not just the romantic kind, but any meaningful connection, parent and child, manager and employee, close friends, and more. Her approach focuses on building healthier, more connected dynamics through therapy and through her signature workshop, The Relationship Recipe. This unique experience brings partners, romantic or otherwise, into the kitchen to learn communication and emotional regulation skills in a hands-on collaborative setting. As you cook together, Leah's husband, Elvis, a professional chef, guides you in preparing a beautiful meal. The kitchen becomes a living classroom where stress, teamwork, and connection naturally show up, giving you the chance to practice and shift relationship patterns in real time. You'll leave with new insights, stronger skills, and something delicious to share. For more information about Leah and her services, you can find her on Facebook at Leah Contreras, LCSW, also on Facebook with the Relationship Recipe, and then at her website, Leah Contreras psychotherapy.com. And of course, you can hear more about her services in this episode. Welcome, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
We're very excited to talk through your perspective on all things therapy and mindfulness and then hear more about this relationship recipe workshop that you've been putting together.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to talk about it as well and talk with you both.
So do you want to start with sort of your background in therapy and providing those services and then sort of walk us to how you came up with this workshop?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So one, I just want to thank you for having me on the chatter, and I think it's such a cool intersection in communication and how we operate in the relationships that are most important to us, and what we like to do to enjoy our lives, and what we eat and drink and do and see. I think there's absolutely an intersection, and about a year ago, I did a bit of a workshop on fashion and mental health and how like those two can connect. And I think, there's just so many ways that we can make ourselves feel better on the inside that also then impacts the outside. So I'm just really excited to talk to you guys more about that intersection today. I am a licensed clinical social worker. Like you said, I own my own private practice. So I see individuals and couples. And I love it. I just think people come to me kind of in all stages of their lives and stages of their relationship. But I know today we're really going to talk more about couples counseling. So I work with couples who some are married, some are not, but are in committed relationships and are struggling to feel connected in a way that maybe they did before, and they've lost that connection, or they want to reignite it based on the stage that they're in now. I work with couples who are facing really challenging dynamics like infidelity and trying to repair after an affair. And I also work with couples who are struggling internally with parts of themselves. And so it might come out in anger and, saying things that aren't very nice to each other. And how can we learn how to regulate our emotions so that we really can get the closeness that we want with our partners? So I think couples work is fascinating, and it feels like we move faster because we have both people there trying to work on the relationship.
I feel like as you were saying that, my husband and I both have sort of like done therapy on and off. And a lot of the times, at least in my sessions, I end up talking about like what's going on in my marriage and stuff. And I can never decide, is it more helpful for me to be like relaying my own point of view on this, or is it better for both of us to be in it at the same time? Because we've kind of dabbled in both.
Yeah. I usually recommend that when I'm working with couples that they're both in individual therapy because it obviously complements the work that we're doing in the couples experience. And, what most of the times what I see is that I often operate from a parts perspective. So, like, we have all these different parts within us and they come out in different circumstances. So, when you're in an argument with your spouse, are you really your 30-year-old self, talking to them? Or are you maybe a much younger self that can work through some of this with your partner, but also probably needs to work through some of this with an individual therapist?
Yes. Definitely in my experience, I think I have found that there are certainly things where it's like it's a joint effort that we need to be working on, but there are surely things where it's like this is personal problem that I need to be working through and
Yeah,
I need professional help.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you found somebody that, that you find is helpful. That's wonderful.
Shout out Erica if you're listening.
Yeah. Shout out Sierra. I
Yeah.
don't think Kelsey and I'd be able to do this without regular
No,
therapy.
no. It's very, I was saying to Leah when we were first talking and planning like this podcast episode that Paige and I both are very open about our therapy journeys. I think it is very good for you to just speak to a third party about whatever. It's a little like, or at least in my experience, it's a little hard to get started on it. But once you do find somebody who fits well with you, I think it's very beneficial. And I think you're right, Paige. I certainly would not be able to get through like, the day-to-day weekly job wise if I weren't speaking to somebody.
Absolutely. And you said like so much of what works in therapy is the therapeutic relationship, right? Between the client and the therapist. And so I always encourage people will often ask me like, how do I know when I need to search out therapy? Whether it's with my partner or individually, or how do I find the right person? And one of the number one things I say is like, go into it knowing that you might have to meet with a couple different therapists and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you failed or that something's wrong. It just means that so much of it is relational that you have to feel comfortable with that person and really that's going, you can trust your gut sometimes with that and that's okay.
That's so true. I don't know, Paige, have you had like the shop around experience yourself? I definitely have.
Yeah, I've done it a few times, but I've been with my girl now it's been a couple years. Yeah. And so with that though, it's like the more you go, the more there is to talk about. I've noticed that like if I skip a few weeks, it's better for me to just go every week because then we can like talk about the day to day, but then dive deep into stuff that I've been like, trauma. And so I feel like going regularly makes it a little bit easier actually.
Yeah, off of that, do you recommend a certain like frequency or is it sort of based on the person?
Yeah, I mean, all of my care is individually based, and so the couple is my client, not the individual people, and so everything's going to be tailored to what they individually need. Overall, I usually see people once a week for about the first 3 to 4 months, because, like you were saying, like things kind of get lost when it's a longer period, or you're having to hold things for too much, or you're coming up with material that like you really need to work on and is charged and you don't want to have a 2 week break to have to hold all of that. I do a lot of emotional regulation with my couples and with my individual clients, and I do a lot of trauma work too. So I'm an EMDR trained therapist. Which are you guys familiar with EMDR? Or have you heard of that?
Is that the tapping or the lights?
Yeah, it's partially, yeah. So it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it's an evidence-based practice. It has tons of research that supports its efficacy. But it really helps with all kinds of trauma. And trauma can be what we call big T trauma, which is something that kind of anybody would say is traumatic. And then little T traumas, which are things that individually feel really dysregulating for us and then kind of add up over time. And so EMDR uses something called bilateral stimulation to help your brain kind of be forced to go into the healing state that it's designed to do so that you can feel less triggered and less overwhelmed by past experiences. It's incredibly powerful. And I do it with individual clients as well as with couples.
Oh, wow.
Fascinating. I probably need it.
I mean, I'm willing to try anything. I feel like I just heard, I don't remember what podcast she was on, but I feel like Miley Cyrus was just talking to somebody about this.
What?
Yeah. I was going to say that's my only knowledge of it is it just came up probably on my Instagram feed or something from somebody talking about it, but that's really interesting. So then can you tell us, so you have this background in couples therapy and work with individuals as well. How did you go? And I guess you mentioned too at the top that you've done other workshops like fashion related, which I was also thinking Paige is similar to what we've talked about before with like, Paige doesn't like to get into it, but she
I
can
don't.
relate to the closet situation.
I have so much trauma in the closet. I was actually, before I got on, I subscribed to Newly because I am so stressed about clothes.
But it's like so true that it's like you want to feel good, and it seems like it would be a baseline, you know, thing to be addressing to like make yourself like feel good throughout the day. So it's completely understandable. But you said you've done workshops in that, and then now you're doing this relationship recipe. How did you go from what you do in your day to day to this?
Yeah, can I just respond really quickly to
Please.
what you're saying for Paige? Paige, I'm actually in the process of developing kind of a new second business where it combines sort of therapy and mental health support with styling, because I think that there is so much like concern around like how we present ourselves in the world, and it can really play out whether it's that we feel like we have nothing to wear, or we don't feel good in our clothes, or our closets completely overwhelm us. So I don't think you're alone in that
All three of
experience.
those times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm definitely like on the path towards creating something where people can work with me, you know, to kind of move through that and feel better in what they're wearing. And like I can't totally see your outfit today, but it looks amazing.
I know, I was
The
going to
colors
say,
are great.
Paige.
So what's so funny is this is a vintage Victoria's Secret silk top. I just grabbed it at like a little vendor shop that I was just at. So
But it does. The colors look very good, but I completely relate to that like overwhelming feeling where it's like, I can't, it's like kind of for me, like decision making where it's like,
yes,
there are too many options. This is too much.
yes. I hate my closet.
We can come back to that at a later session.
Really.
So Leah, then tell us about, so how that got like morphed into the cooking angle.
Yeah, so our cooking workshop is called the Relationship Recipe, and so my husband's a chef. He's been working in the culinary industry like for his whole life. His father and mother owned a restaurant, and he grew up there. And I love food just in general. Like it's, you know, it's very simple, but I love it. And I was trying to think of a way that we could combine our skills so that we'd have the opportunity to work together. And so we started to create this relationship recipe. It had all these different names. Like at first it was date night therapy, but I think that kind of intimidated people. They weren't ready to say they were in therapy. And so now we're on the relationship recipe, which overall seems to be well received. And so we bring about anywhere from 5 to 10 couples to my husband's restaurant, which is called Bella Italia. It's in on the Chesterfield Richmond border, and it's an Italian restaurant. And so we have a separate space. The restaurant will be closed on the days of the workshop, and we bring the couples together, and they learn 2 emotional regulation skills and 2 communication skills. So really practical things. So for example, starting to use I statements instead of you statements. So when you're in a fight with your spouse or your partner, oftentimes we say like, you came home late, you know, and you were wrong, right? And you're going to get a defensive person if you do that. It's normal to talk in that way. But if you can try and start just really simply with like, I felt left out that you didn't come home, or you know, I felt really sad that you didn't come home. Starting from that, you're then going to get a partner who's more willing to engage in dialogue with you. So some are really practical skills like that, and then we open it up for all the couples to talk about their experiences, and it has been really magical to watch them connect and really see they're not alone in some of the things that they're going through. That part has just been really wonderful for me. And then they go to my husband, and in the second part of the restaurant, they start a cooking lesson. And so throughout it, I'm walking around, and one of the magical parts of the cooking lesson is that one person is the chef and one person is the sous chef. So what's the job of the sous chef?
I feel like I don't know what the technical is, but it's sort of to take the direction, I feel like.
Yes. The chef is the leader.
You got it. Right. But the chef isn't usually doing the thing, right? They're usually saying, like, this is what I do. So the couples have these roles and they're identified from the beginning, and then they switch halfway through. And you would not believe how hard it is for folks to be the sous chef and take that direction sometimes, or for them to be the chef to not be able to jump in and do it the way they want or fix it.
I like the idea of sort of like making it a less, I mean, it's something that you do every day. You have to be in the kitchen to make a meal one way or another at some point. So it's making it like a familiar thing and then tying it to something that you had mentioned, maybe people feel a little bit more daunted by, which is therapy sometimes, and bringing the two of them together to make it a little less overwhelming.
Yeah, so they get to practice all their skills during this. And there's also a lot of like emotional experiences around connecting with food. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard this from other people you've talked to, and like, why do we go out and have our favorite places to eat? So we also do a little bit with like, what's your most meaningful culinary experience with your partner and why? And like, how can you in some ways recreate those experiences in your day-to-day life so that you guys can feel even more connected?
Is there a particular lesson that you have seen a couple like go through from the beginning to the end of a workshop where you found that particularly like it was a great highlight, or anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, so the last workshop that we did, we partnered with the Wounded Warrior Project, which is a really incredible nonprofit that supports veterans and their families who have been in battle. And so we had 10 couples that they had selected from their program, and so they came in. One particular couple stands out in that they had very kind of traditional roles in the kitchen, right?
Mhm.
So this so the wife was like doing all the cooking and all the preparation, and then the husband would like enjoy the meal. And so he really got a chance to try to do it differently, and he expressed like so much joy in seeing how his wife received the meal. um, but then it was also really interesting because the wife had such a hard time letting her husband do it in her book wrong, or not how she would do it. And so she was kind of able to practice some of those emotional regulation skills so that she could really ground herself in enjoying cooking with him and trying on this different role. And it was really fun watching them go through it.
Oh, I love that. And the workshops themselves, from the group therapy part to the cooking class itself, about how long does the whole session go?
It's a 2-hour course. It's always on a Sunday because that's the day the restaurants close, and we want to give everyone privacy. So it's our next one's going to be Sunday, July 27th, and they're from 12 to 2 p.m.
Oh, there is something about it where it's like if the whole group of people is sort of like in a similar boat, it's very helpful to know that it's like you're not alone doing this, even though it does feel very like a lot sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. When we were, so after you cook, you all sit together and eat the meal and kind of debrief and get to talk to each other. And one of the comments that we heard repeatedly was that they wished it could be a series, right? So like, that maybe it's 5 workshops where it's the same group of people so that they can really bond and develop ways to support each other through, the challenges that couples have.
Oh, yeah.
That is nice. So you can grow and evolve it.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, was there anything else before we get to what to eat, drink, and see and do with your recommendations?
No, I'm just really glad, that you guys are so open to looking outside of the traditional box around entertainment and food and what to do in Richmond, and see the connection with mental health and taking care of yourself in that way in your relationship. So thank you for the opportunity to talk with you both.
No, we're so excited.
Absolutely.
And like we said, like I think it is, I don't know, we talk, I know not everybody is there in this like headspace, but Paige and I talk about it so casually, and I feel like once we get better, more to that point as a society, everybody will be in better shape. I just feel like it's just going, it's like, you got to do your regular maintenance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get your recs. So what do you recommend our listeners eat? And I have a feeling I know what this is.
Yes. So of course the first one has got to be my husband's restaurant. My husband's like a really fantastic chef. I love his cooking. It's Bella Italia. It's on Route 10 or Iron Bridge Road in Richmond. And I love it there. It's just your cozy Italian restaurant. And one of my favorite well, honestly, I like a lot of the food there. But one of my favorite dishes is the Sicilian pizza. It's really authentic. It does take a little bit of time to make because it's thicker, but it's just so delicious. I love that square pizza.
Oh,
I'm like looking at the menu right now.
I
I was gonna say, what's your favorite dish that he makes? It doesn't have to be at the restaurant, but I assume he cooks at home.
Yes, he does. He's so good. So at home he'll do all kinds of cuisine, all kinds of styles. So I think I really like when he does Mediterranean. So he recently started making some falafel from scratch, and I love that. He makes really good hummus.
Awesome.
But I will tell you, the first meal he ever made me that like wooed me, you know, that was I love penne vodka, and at the time it wasn't on their menu. I'm not sure if it is now, and he made that, and it was so delicious. And maybe that was like a little bit of the falling in love, but it was just so good.
Oh my gosh. And then now you get it for life. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is really nice.
And then you also mentioned that you love the black and white cookies at Claudia's Bake Shop, which I don't know if I'm breaking this news to you. And I don't know if it's technically news because it seems like it's still mysterious, but they seem to have gone dark in the last couple of weeks. Their latest Instagram post was that they're working on something new. So I don't know if folks can run out and get this right now, but tell us about the cookies.
Oh, they're just so delicious. So I grew up in Connecticut and lived in New York for a while, and so I would say I'm a connoisseur of black and white cookies. Maybe that's why I wore this shirt too, like to support.
Very on theme.
Yes, so I am preferential to the vanilla side. I like the white side, but what I find with theirs is that the vanilla side is like more frostingy. It's like, and then the chocolate is harder, and I really like that mixture. They're delicious.
Oh yeah, okay, we'll have to check it out. We'll keep an eye on what they're doing. It's so funny because I just was out in Carytown recently and walked by them and noticed that it looked a little like literally dark over there, but I hadn't seen any announcement per se. And it seems like on their Instagram, they're not gone, but they're taking a beat for a project.
And I mean, Google says they're closed,
Yeah, I saw
but
that
just might mean that it's temporary.
Right. So if you're getting the hankering now after hearing this episode, I know like Shindig's, Fat Rabbit, Minglewood, and Sugar and Twine always have some sort of like cookie selection. So they might have something like this in rotation.
What do you suggest for drink?
So I really like Brick Road Coffee, which is on Schrader Road. I think it's like considered Richmond. And I'm kind of pretty simple with my coffee. I just a latte with oat milk and I'll add some vanilla, but I like to get it iced right now. And it's just really delicious. It's really good coffee. And then this is also going back to eat. So I hope that's okay. But their avocado toast is so good. And they put chili oil on it and they use this really nice bread. And I always get that with my latte and it's delicious.
I do love avocado toast. That's what I had for breakfast this morning.
Yeah, and anything with chili oil is fine by me.
Absolutely.
And how about for C?
I haven't been to the Frida Kahlo exhibit at VMFA yet, and I've heard from a lot of people that it's been really great. So I definitely want to go over and see that. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I think you did an episode recently where you talked about it.
Yeah, we got to see it. I get to go to a media preview, so it was beautiful. I need to take my wife there because she hasn't been, and it was an amazing exhibition, and I just it was only, I think we were the second exhibition in the United States, so it was just, it's cool.
Yeah. So we definitely included it, I think maybe ahead of its opening officially to the public, but it's a good reminder that it runs the entire summer. So if you're looking for like summer bucket list plans, this would be one of them because I think it ends at the end. September 28th, I think, is the end date.
It's a good rainy day or hot day activity for the summer, for sure.
Something. And another one that I noticed on their website that more recently opened in May is Nothing Gold Can Stay, which I thought sounded cool too. It includes nearly 20 photographs that explore themes related to childhood and adolescence by artists working from the 19th century to the present. So if you wanted to get a look at a couple of things, there are always options over there.
Absolutely.
That sounds good.
Okay, and then Leah, bring us home with do. What do you love to do in the Richmond area?
So I renewed my Lewis Ginter family pass again this year. I love being there. It's just I don't know, it feels kind of magical. It's just so beautiful. The last time we went was just a couple weeks ago and the roses were in full bloom and it was just So gorgeous. And so I want to spend more time going to the Flowers After 5 concert series.
Yes.
And I think they have a special day for where you can bring your pet. So I was thinking about maybe bringing maybe not both my dogs. My Chihuahua would drive people crazy, but maybe my Black Lab.
Yeah, they do. They do Fidos After 5, and they've got one coming up this week that we're recording in, I think on the 12th, but there's another coming up at the end of the month on the 26th. They're partnering with Richmond SPCA, and you can bring your pup in to enjoy the tunes and all too.
It's on my summer bucket list.
Yeah. And then next week too, on June 19th, they're doing a free performance for Juneteenth featuring Bon Caribe, which is an exciting blend of Afro-Cuban, Latin, Caribbean, and soulful rhythm and blues, all held together with pulsating percussion, which creates memories of tropical sands, balmy island breezes, and the clear water of paradise. So if you were looking for an excuse, this seems like a good one. I think all day on Juneteenth there, it's open for free.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for hopping on and sharing all about you and what you guys offer. We are big fans.
Thank you so much. I'm such a big fan of what you guys have created and the community you've created too. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much, Leah.
All right, so thanks for listening, Richmond. And by the way, there's more where that came from. Joining the Richmond Experience as a member is the best way to stay in the know about what's going on in RVA.
Not to worry, we refuse to sell your info or bombard you with ads, but we do charge a small annual membership fee of $39 a year to fund our team so we can keep doing this awesome work. Plus, a portion of each annual membership purchase for the Richmond Experience goes to rotating nonprofits each month. That's like $1 per week to get an all-access pass to the best of RVA and lift up local orgs. It's a really, really good deal, friends. And listen, what are our friends for anyway? Use code CHATTER to get $10 off your first year subscription.
Give us a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at The Richmond Experience, and on Instagram at The Chatter and RVA too. And if you enjoyed this episode, send it to your buds and rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you want to keep up with each of us, you can find me at Kelsey Hines' Typing on Instagram.
And me, Sips and Trips with Paige on Instagram.
Chat with you next week, RVA.